Right now, Blanche is asking whether Cohen's lawyer explored the possibility of a pardon, quote, because you were 100% open to accepting it. And I wonder if he has a text message of Michael Cohen saying, I am 100% open to accepting
yes, sir,
it. Yes,
says.
sir.
I mean,
there it is. All right. So he's, you know, is it possible? Yeah. So now he's acknowledging that he was 100% open to accepting it.
And does anyone doubt that if he had been given this, if Donald Trump had been, you know, more willing to kind of put more of his own skin in the game to protect Michael Cohen, that Michael Cohen would have stayed in the fold? I mean, I don't doubt that.
But let's just to underline this point, Jeff Zeleny, it's not just that Michael Cohen said he didn't ask for a pardon, and it turned out a lawyer was exploring it on his behalf. He said before Congress, I would not accept a pardon. Not I never asked for, but I never asked for, nor would I accept. And he just admitted that he was 100% open to accepting it. So again, Michael Cohen just admitted to a new lie.
Yes, so he's lied to Congress. He's lied to prosecutors in a courtroom. I think that, again, when you're a juror, we do not know how they're processing all this, but my guess is they are less in Michael Cohen's heads than we all are in terms of knowing this whole story. They are seeing this, so again, I think it's his demeanor and his presentation, and there was so much lying going on and other things. I mean, if you look at the documents, that's why they have the receipts and the paper trail. We'll just have to see how this all goes. But we haven't seen as much, and I'm interested in hearing from our reporters who are in the courtroom. How's the former president doing during all this?
It just says Trump has been looking in Cohen's direction from time to time while he testifies, which is different from how he has been in court in general.
In terms of sleeping and putting his eyes back.
Not sleeping, but just like looking straight ahead. The judge is over here. The witnesses are over there. When I was in court last week, a week ago today, he didn't look in Stormy Daniels' direction once, as far as I could tell. The witness comes in behind you and then goes up. But here we're told that he is looking at Michael Cohen. Trump leaned forward to read the congressional deposition testimony on the screen when it was pulled up, when he said that when Michael Cohen said in 2019 that he had not asked for, nor would he accept a pardon from Donald Trump. And he just admitted, Laura Coates, that he was, in fact, 100% open to accepting a pardon from Donald Trump.
This is important because jury instructions are going to be given to the jury at the conclusion of all of the evidence when they're getting ready to deliberate. And one is likely to be this Latin term that says if you're lying about one thing, you're lying about everything. And they want to be able to say any sort of lie that you've given, even in testimony today, not your past, but in before this jury, they can discount the things you said. It gives the jury a pass to be able to say, as I'm assessing your credibility in real time, I'm looking at you. That's why he's turning to the jury to have them see their face. He's well aware of body language and what he's doing, almost pleadingly saying, here's why I'm defensive. That's important for them. But also keep in mind here a power dynamic at play. You just described what's like in the courtroom. This is somebody who described himself early in the testimony as the equivalent of a puppy, a lackey who wanted validation and said he felt like he was on top of the world when Donald Trump would actually give him praise. He's the person now engaged and looking at him. I'm guessing as the jury, they're thinking to themselves, now why would Donald Trump be so more engaged this time? Why is he leaning in? Is there a dynamic, a power play happening? And how will that impact the measured tone of Michael Cohen?
And Tim Parlatore, I mean, Michael Cohen going before Congress in 2019 and saying he would never accept a pardon from Donald Trump, and admitting on the stand just now that he would 100% accept a pardon from Donald Trump. That's a new lie that we did not know about before. There hasn't been any evidence that Michael Cohen has said anything false in testimony in this case. But he certainly is creating a long trail of admissions of times he didn't tell the truth, including under oath.
Correct. And I think that may be why, Donald Trump is, leaning forward a bit more, because I think he knows kind of where this is going, because now they're bringing out new things that weren't, part of the direct, that, as you just said, a new lie nobody knew about before. And if he goes, in next to the part about how when he asked for this pardon, and then Rudy Giuliani came back and said, the president says no, and he doesn't want it brought up again.
Is that what happened?
Yes. And if that comes out, which they have emails of, that will then put into context his then conversation with his family about why are you being so loyal to me.
I haven't heard that yet, if they have emails of that.
It was in yesterday's congressional testimony.
Oh, I see what you're saying. In Congress, not here.
And that will...
Oh, that's from Rob Costello.
Right.
Okay.
So that'll put that into context. It'll also then take, at that point, Todd Blanche should go back to his direct testimony. And one of the great things he did here is he filled up the day on Tuesday and then took all day Wednesday where they could take the transcripts of his direct testimony, digest it, and get it all, laid out so that now he can go up and say, okay, so in your direct testimony, you said...
Yeah, well, he said Cohen said his public testimony was referring to the present tense, meaning...
What is
Donald Trump... Well, he said, I wouldn't accept a pardon from Donald Trump because and then this is the unspoken part, because he's already told me I'm not going to get one. He also said a pardon was, quote, being dangled.
Right.
This is what Michael Cohen said. A pardon was being dangled. It does seem to me, Tim, based on what you're saying and based on this line of questioning, and Ellie, I'd love to get your thoughts on this. It does seem to me that Rob Costello would actually be a good witness, and the fact that he testified before Congress yesterday on behalf of the House Republicans who are obviously supporting Donald Trump and against this prosecution makes that even more possible. So when you said you never asked for and would never accept a pardon, that was a lie, wasn't it? Blanche asked. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, the answer should be yes. Oh, well,
at the time, it was accurate, Cohen says, because at the very, this is Cohen's reasoning, not mine, at the very moment that he said it, he would not have accepted it that moment because he had already been open to it and been told by Rob Costello via Rudy Giuliani, via Donald Trump, no, it's not on the table. Right. Don't ask for it ever again. So he's like, what am I going to do now?
It's easy to not want something once the ship has already sailed.
Exactly.
Right? So
although he said it was still being dangled, but who knows?
There was a really important moment in the cross a few minutes ago. Sometimes when you're going through a long litany, as the defense team is here, a long litany of lies, you want to pause and sort of wrap it up with a bow and signal to the jury, here's where we're going. And there was a question from Todd Blanche a few minutes ago where he asked Michael Cohen, the reason why you lied was because the stakes affected you personally. And Cohen answered, yes. And then Blanche asked, the outcome of this case affects you personally. And Cohen said yes. And that's a moment where you expose your theory. You argue to the jury through the mouth of the witness. And that'll be the theme at closing. Anytime this guy has a personal stake, whether it's psychological, familial, financial, seeing his wishes fulfilled, he will lie. He's done that through his whole life. Why is now any different?
It's important to reorient people as well, because obviously, with the testimony that we've seen, it appears that Michael Cohen is the defendant in this case. He is not the defendant in this case. And the jury is likely at this point in time wondering about the presentation of evidence, the burden of proof as it relates to Donald Trump. And I just want to go over again what they actually have to prove with respect to Donald Trump. It's about these 34 falsified business records, the intent to defraud, intent to actually conceal other crimes, the making of these false documents and business records, right? All those things. And you got to have the documentary evidence. This is why they went to such great lengths to make sure that things like this came before the jury, the breakdown of the payment, why they went to lengths about the signed documents from Donald Trump and the reimbursements, why they mention, of course, they're talking about the ways in which to question his credibility. But remember, the convictions is what the jury actually will be hearing about, and we've gone through these things. But most importantly, they've got to go back to this original point that everyone sees in the calendar. This is obviously jumbled. It goes after Inauguration Day. Once he's the President of the United States, every box in red showing you how many falsified documents were made and the timeline of everything. But they have to actually go back and prove these factors.
And here we go.
Here we are.
So Todd Blanche is now moving on to Cohen's conversations with Robert Costello. That's the attorney that he had spoken with after the FBI raided his home and office. And again, Dana Bash, Robert Costello was testifying before Congress, House Republicans yesterday, and laying out all the ways that his conversations, and apparently he brought receipts, emails and texts and the like, that what Michael Cohen is saying is not accurate. And Michael Cohen very clearly was portraying, when he was being asked by the prosecutors, Rob Costello as some sort of like seedy, shady character being sent his way by Rudy Giuliani. Hey, if you want to, to shut him up. Hey, if you want to talk to President Trump, talk to me, and then I'll talk to Rudy, and then we'll talk to Trump. And Mr. Costello is saying that's not, and also Tim Parlatore is saying that's not at all what was going on. The court is taking a brief morning break. Let's run this soundbite from Rob Costello testifying before Congress yesterday.
What he tries to do is he cherry picks certain emails or text messages and tries to make them look like something else. The story he told yesterday was that Rudy Giuliani and I were somehow conspiring to try and keep him quiet, to try and keep him from flipping, That's the term we use in the trade for cooperating. That's ridiculous.
So that's Bob Costello, who, as Tim Parlatore said, is presenting a very different story than Michael Cohen is about their interactions, and might be called as a witness for the defense once the prosecution rests. Dana Bash.
Yeah, and we've been talking a lot about the sort of receipts, the paperwork, the texts, the checks, the invoices that the prosecution has to try to make their case beyond or in addition to the testimony that they're getting from Michael Cohen and other witnesses. And the question is whether or not Bob Costello is going to bring the same kind of receipts, same kind of paperwork to back up what he is saying, what he said yesterday.
Yeah, if he indeed testifies, we still don't know what the defense plans on doing.